Hey you guys, it's Monica and welcome back. Today I'm going to be making a glitter desktop. And so this is the lemon tabletop that you can pick up from IKEA. And it's only like $23. I'll insert a shot of it right now. So yeah, it's about 47 by 24 if you round off. So 4 feet by 2 feet. And it has like a inch, maybe 2 inches thickness. And so I'm going to start this by just taping off the perimeter of the table. Make sure before you do start all this that you do just give it a quick wipe down with like alcohol or Lysol or something like that. Mine was straight out the plastic, and just like I said, just give it just a quick little once over just in case there's any like dust or anything. And we're actually in my garage, and so a little bit of a different setting today than normally in my videos. Instead of in my craft room, we're down in the garage just because of the amount of epoxy that I used. I felt the best place for do this within the garage. So once you get all that done, I'm going to do this just like a tumbler. So I'm going to be using the glossy Mod Podge. And I kind of tried to, and then this is icicle glitter. And so it's a beautiful white iridescent glitter. Y'all seen me use this before. It has like a blue-green shift to it. And so I kind of tried to figure out what would be the best way to do this, because there isn't really information on the internet as to how you could glitter a desktop. And so I thought about maybe mixing it in the epoxy, but then I kind of moved away from that because I'm like, what if there are spots where it's sparse, or what if there's spots where the epoxy, where the glitter kind of puddles in the epoxy and it's like the coverage is different in different spots. And so I'm like, no, I don't think I want to mix it in the epoxy. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just do this the same exact way as I would do a tumbler, because that seems proven and there can't be that much difference between a tumbler and a desktop, when you think about it in theory. And so I'm doing it just like I would a tumbler. So I'm going in with a layer of Mod Podge, and then I'm sprinkling the glitter, and I'm doing it in sections to prevent that Mod Podge from drying out too much and keeping some of the tackiness by the time I go back on with the glitter. So yeah, I'm just working it in sections. I know someone is going to ask how much glitter did I use. After everything was said and done and I put the glitter on and took the glitter off, I used about 8 ounces of glitter. So if you were to get the same glitter, that would be 4 jars of icicle glitter. So 8 ounces total. So it's been 2 hours, and I'm gonna come back in now with, so I just grabbed like one of these big paper plates. It's just like a holiday plate from Sam's Club. They were actually on sale. So I was really turned, and it was before Christmas. So I was really happy about that. So I'm gonna just pull back the tape on this one side, and hey hubby, he's been down in the garage helping me with this project. And so what I'm doing is I'm literally just taking this fluffy makeup brush. Y'all know I turn makeup brushes into craft brushes. Because honestly, craft brushes at Michael's are just expensive in my opinion. And you can go get an Eco Tools or a Motor Tools brush at Walmart for much cheaper. And it serves the same purpose. And so you can see all this extra glitter that is coming off. And so like in total, I think I used 7 jars like while I was doing it. And then I was able to fill back up a few jars. So that's why I say you needed 8 ounces, because you see like the glitter is just coming off. Now if I'm heavy handed, and I've always told you guys I'm very heavy handed, I always mix too much epoxy, use too much glitter, get glitter all over the place, but that's just my happy place. And so if you're like, you can be a little like lighter handed, you probably wouldn't need to buy as many jars, or you could probably work a little more efficiently than me. But you see all this glitter coming off. And this is glitter that just wasn't stuck to the table. And so I'm going to retape it. And so I kind of, me and the hubby, we looked at it. He shined some light on it. And we decided that to go in with a second layer of glitter. So again, just like we would a tumbler, I'm going to re-Mod Podge the table and sprinkle it with all that glitter that I just pulled off. So I guess in theory you could say it's about 4 ounces of glitter a layer. And so it wouldn't be a true Monica Period 6 Designs video if I didn't tell you guys what I messed up. And so you see I've put on a glove and I'm scraping the table. Well, what happened? I was using a Dollar Tree foam brush, and on the second layer, the foam brush started to fall apart on me and was leaving ugly black particles on the desktop. And so the good thing, the Mod Podge underneath was dry, and so it was kind of just on the surface. So I just put on a glove, and I'm going back over the surface with a paper towel in my glove and just getting all those little bits and pieces of the foam brush out the table. And then I went back with my hand again with the glove, and I smeared the Mod Podge on the table and re-glittered it. And that's what it came out looking like. It looks so good. I was so happy. At this point, I'm like, okay, this is going to be awesome. It looks so good, you guys. I was so excited. So yeah, and that's like with no extra light. That's in the garage, y'all, with one light on, like in the corner. So you can see the sparkle that is giving off. And so Hippie Crafter was actually nice enough to send me their half-gallon tabletop epoxy kit. Not sponsored or anything. I have not received any compensation to use this product. But yeah, I just wanted to show you guys that is the brand I am using. And it's a 2-part epoxy resin, and so 1:1 ratio by volume. All of this is on the packaging as well as on their website. And so yeah, I'm just coating it like you would a tumbler essentially, but on the tabletop it's a nice flat surface, which is actually a nice change because epoxy is self-leveling, and so as long as you get it on the surface, you're gonna be good. And so yeah, so like I was saying, Hippie Crafters has sent this to me. They sent it to me months ago, and when they reached out to me, I knew immediately I wanted to do a glitter desktop because I have been wanting one, because I'm just like, that's just kind of on point for me to have a glitter desktop. And so you're probably like, but why'd you do icicle? That's so plain. Believe it or not, like in my home, I'm very much black, white, gray, silver. Like it's kind of just like my home aesthetic that I like. And, you know, I'll do pops of color and all that. But for the most part, just like as far as like my furniture and stuff like that, and like in my bedroom, I'm just very big on neutrals. And so you'll see it at the end of the video. But like all my shelving and everything in my craft room is already white. And so I thought about doing like purple or something like that. But I'm like, you know what? I don't want it to just clash very badly, and so I'm gonna go ahead and just do icicle because it'll still give me that glittery pop that I want without looking too crazy. But definitely feel free to do whatever your heart's desire. If you want a pink desktop, girl, do you a pink desktop. It's all the way up to you. And so yeah, I just smoothed the epoxy out with my hands. I felt like that was the best way and easiest way to get it done. It said you could use like a squeegee or something like that. Girl, I wasn't doing all that. Good old hands with with gloves. And make sure I can't believe I have to keep telling adults this, y'all. I love y'all. Wear your PPE. Please no one come in the comments worried about the PPE I'm wearing, because again, wear what you feel comfortable wearing. If you need to wear a respirator, you see I have on an apron, gloves, all that. Wear whatever you need to wear because you are dealing with a chemical. Read the instructions on the epoxy that you buy and follow those safety instructions. Please, 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 y'all. So yeah, and so next, finally, I'm just going to go in with the heat gun. And so this epoxy did have a lot of little micro bubbles that I noticed. And if you probably look closely enough, you can kind of see the heat gun torching them. Like when it like looks like it's like super sparkling, that's actually just bubbles coming to the surface and popping under the heat. So just make sure you're doing some good concentrated heat, staying enough away from the surface that you don't warp it underneath, but just make sure you're giving the whole surface a good blast to get rid of all those little bubbles. And so this is what it looks like after 6 hours. So according to the Hippie Crafter instructions, if you want to do a second layer to make sure it sticks without having to sand it, you want to come back between 4 and 10 hours. So of course I'm going to follow the manufacturer's instructions. So yeah, I waited 6 hours. And so I'm going to come back in with the second layer. And after I mixed the first thing of epoxy, y'all, I realized that I forgot to cut my vinyl. And so this is just some vinyl I picked up on Amazon. I will leave a link to it below. And I just wanted to put the brand on it, of course, period 6, because again, this is going in my craft room. And so I just thought that would be a nice little touch. And so the only thing that I will say, make sure when you're applying this vinyl that you are using gloves because you're technically dealing with uncured epoxy. So make sure that you have your gloves on. In the event that you accidentally touch on the table, epoxy can't irritate the skin. Um, so yeah, and just pull it. And I'm showing you this in real time. Pull this off very slowly because again, the epoxy is uncured, and so it's still sticking way more than it would to a surface that was cured or just like a glass surface or a stainless steel surface or anything like that. And so I had to take my glove off to help me kind of flick up the corner because my nails. But you see, I put my glove back on because I knew I was going to need to like brace myself against the table to pull it up because it has to be pulled slowly because again, if not, you could risk ripping the vinyl. So just be careful when you're doing that at this step in the process. And this is how it looks. You can see like where, those marks are in it. Don't worry, you're going to cover that up with the next layer of epoxy. So don't even let that phase you. Completely and totally normal. It's fine. All right. So, like I said before, I had to run back in the house because I forgot to cut the vinyl. And so I actually had like a cup that was randomly sitting there, and I'll tell you what happened to that in a minute. But yeah, you're probably wondering how much I mixed. I will leave the total that you probably need below. But you see, I have the 4 cups sitting here, and those are, hold on, 9-ounce cups, and you see they're not filled up completely, so I'll probably say there's probably about 8 ounces in each cup. For the first layer I used a cup and a half, so I'll say probably about 12 ounces total, and that's the one that was just sitting there. So if you use this one, you have about 30 minutes to get it on the table. Like I said, I had went back upstairs and I had to do some things as far as like cutting the vinyl, weeding the vinyl, picking out the font, moving at my jolly old pace. And so by the time I got back, that 1 cup I had mixed up, I kept checking it and it was getting hotter and hotter, and I knew it was just going to be lights out. So I mixed them all, the other 3, which is about 24 ounces total for this second layer. So I mixed all of it at the same time. So just make sure you're being diligent and you're mixing and getting all of it mixed so you can have it all to pour at once. Or if you feel more comfortable, just work in sections and just blend it as you mix it. So that's my only little advice for that. And just another little fun clip really quick. You can see it just turned into a hot jelly mess. But that also let me know that I mixed it right. So that's the one good thing. I'm like, okay, well, I know this is gonna cure fine because this thing it's curing how it expected to and generating the heat that I would expect it to if I left it, by leaving it in the cup like that. So it kind of made me more confident because I never mixed like this much epoxy at once. I've done epoxy art, but I did them also again in much smaller batches. And so just mixing these big cups kind of made me nervous because I wasn't sure if I had done enough mixing, if the mixture was completely incorporated and mixed together. So I was kind of worried about that. But once that happened, I felt a little more confident. Y'all know my mistakes either make me confident or just make me mad. So yeah, that made me feel a little better. And I'm just doing it like I did the last layer and just using my hands and going over the surface, mixing everything together. And I will say with this layer, I left the tape on between the last layer and this layer. And so with this layer, just make sure when you're putting the epoxy on, I should have showed this and I forgot. I'm so sorry, you guys. But on that second layer, I left like a little teeny tiny sliver of the desk going along the sides around the edges to help me seal in the glitter layer. And so also what you'll see me doing is kind of just making sure I push that epoxy over the edge to just make sure everything's nice and sealed in and we won't have any like lifting or anything. I don't plan on having like water or anything on this surface, so it's not really that big of a deal for how I'm going to be using it. But again, just my tumbler roots make me want to make sure I'm going over that surface and sealing everything in. So just something to remember. Like I said, if you're not gonna be like spilling water on it every day, it's not that big of a deal. That's what you see me doing right now. But just in case, just make sure you're sealing everything in. And in case you're like me, I live in Colorado, you guys. We had like 3 60-degree days in a row including Christmas Day. And so this was just like the perfect time, like of the winter year, to do this, because I have a heater in my garage too, so I could keep it at the temperature I need it at. So I'm like, okay, this is my small window to get this done. If I'm gonna do it, I have to do it now. So yeah, so I made that trip to IKEA, bought the tabletop, and voila, we have this video. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop those bubbles again. And so this is what it looks like immediately after I completed that second layer of epoxy and blasted it with the heat gun. I'm already in love. I think that vinyl looks great. It like blends in with the table, but it doesn't. And I know when the sun hits it, it's gonna look so good. And so I'm very happy. And so make sure you come back in an hour and remove that tape. You just want to give it a little enough time to set up, but don't leave that tape on there. And this is the reveal. You can see the color shifting in the vinyl. It's giving pink, it's giving purple, it's giving orange. And you can see the beautiful iridescent in the desktop. It looks so good. And if you have any rough edges, don't be afraid to just hit them with a little bit of sandpaper. You're not going to harm the desk. But other than that, it turned out wonderfully. I'm super happy. You can see like kind of like just like the all white motif that I have going on, and I think the glitter desktop just gives it a beautiful pop. So yeah, you guys, that's how I did this glitter desktop. So if you like these kind of videos, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Please don't forget to leave me a comment below, or if you have any questions that I didn't answer in the video, and please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next one.